Hi, horse friends. In today's video, we are going to talk about the public license to operate issue that is coming up with equestrian sports, or really animal sports in general. As one of our viewers talked about dog sports, I guess, are under pressure too as well. And we just did a video about the Laura Tomlinson interview, and I have to say, for one, I'm really proud of her for speaking up as an Olympian, and I do appreciate her perspective. Some people thought that maybe it was gaslighting the public. I don't think that. I feel like her perspective was more that we need to stop thinking about what it is we think is okay, or the associations think is okay, and we really do need to start listening to the public. And I think the public's correct. So what are your thoughts, Becca, on our license to operate and kind of what's happening in animal sports in general?
And there's a lot that goes into it. There's many different things that are coming up that people are pointing out and observing that they don't like. Talking the perspective of dressage, roller, and like in one of our previous videos, kind of the different training tactics and pushing horses, maybe beyond their limits.
Right.
So I think there's, those aspects of it. Yeah. And then other sports with whatever they have. I personally don't really know a whole lot about, halter quarter horses, but I hear people who do, and they're talking about, the looks and shapes of them and how awkward and uncomfortable the horses look and you look at them, and they do look pretty uncomfortable when they're so top heavy,
straight behind.
Yeah. And you guys got to remember, horses don't have muscles on the lower half of their legs. It's bone and tendon and ligaments. So you start adding all this weight and stuff, it's going to make a difference.
Yeah. It's animal sports altogether. It used to be the good old boys club before the internet. And, you take like big lick, you take halter, you take show jumping, you take eventing, you take dressage. We're at a breaking point here. We take horse racing. We have to change things. The way things were happening is not okay anymore. I think it's very similar to how we used to start horses, right? You used to take the cowboy way, sack them out, get them broke in a short period of time. Well, then we realized that was wrong, right? Well, a lot of us realized that was wrong. And we have now changed our ways in which we start horses. And the same thing needs to happen in sport. Mm-hmm. What we were doing was not necessarily correct. And I think the problem is these associations move at such a slow speed because they're kind of like big bureaucracies in a lot of ways, right? I have seen the FEI make some changes. I have seen the show jumper associations in Britain make some changes. There's a new, I guess you could say, class in the United States in the show jumpers that's supposed to go more towards animal welfare. That is great. But we are in danger of losing our sports, and we are in danger of not being able to ride these animals anymore unless we make immediate change, because the public is not happy with what they see. I mean, there was a big New York Times article just recently about this. The New York Times, right? This is reaching people that don't ride horses. And if they can see it, right? We know among mammals, there are expressions in your eyes, dogs, cats, horses, that we have all, we should do something on this. It'd be really interesting, that we have all modified over time to communicate with each other subliminally. And so you don't have to be a horse person to recognize that. And it's sad to me that it takes years and years and years, and money just corrupts things. So then the quarter horse industry is notorious for letting money control it. If you take the story of Impressive with the HYPP, for example, they kept breeding him and breeding him and breeding him and hiding what his genetics were doing at the cost of many horses for years. And we see that all across the sports, right? We see people with high dollar stallions and they aren't really looking that happy in the show ring, right? But they're going to have hundreds of millions of dollars to lose if the judging changes, if the rules change, right? If the public takes control, essentially, which they are, and I appreciate it, of these stress factors in horses. So, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a number of them. Actually, an interesting point on that is I was reading a post by somebody, and I just happened upon it on Facebook, so I don't remember the name or anything, and they were a breeder, though, and I think they were a breeder of quarter horse. I don't remember which discipline they were in, but they were talking about it because they had recently lost one of their stallions, and their stallion was a carrier for something. And they were talking about it and how, they always write to 5 pound negative mares and different things, so that he was just the carrier and different stuff. But they were talking about how that still ended up, there's still the chance of passing it on, just the one copy, and how it was kind of a selfishness on their part to breed him, even if they were being careful, because you're still running the risk of putting horses out there with that on there. Now, there's a handful of things that, breeders have talked about and different stuff, because you take out some of these things and some of the horses that have stuff and everything else, you are very drastically diminishing the gene pool within the breed to some extent. But there's also, okay, we've done that, but you also have, let's just say, yes, I'm exaggerating here, you have hundreds of millions of quarter horses, and you decide to line breed half of your herd. Call it what you want, that's still inbreeding, and you're going to have problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when you have a variety of options, and you still choose to line breed because the stallion's really good, or this mare, that mare, whatever, you're going to run into problems. We all, scientifically, there's factual evidence that inbreeding causes issues.
Yeah. And so some of you might ask, what is the license to operate? Okay. It's not that we actually have to particularly go out and get a license, but you have to remember that the public can shut you down at any point in time if they deem what we are doing as inhumane and not correct for the animal. All of those are laws that are in almost every civilized country. So if the public views sports of dogs, horses, whatever it is we compete with, as not correct or not moral, they have the ability to get it shut down. So by calling it a license to operate, it's more that we are being allowed to operate, allowed to compete. And there are parts of the industry that are actively being shut down, which I absolutely love, because some things are so abhorrent and so old that it's just astonishing to me that it made it this far. One of them is horse tripping. In the state of Nevada, horse tripping was just finally deemed illegal. I mean, why did that take so long? It's just an awful event. If you guys don't know what it is, I do plan on doing a video on that. It's might be hard for some people to understand or watch.
Not necessarily to tell you what to do, but just use caution and everything if you go to look it up yourself. prepare yourself. Interesting point on that too, because I wonder if sometimes, not always, but sometimes it takes so long to kind of become alarmed, become like awareness, because it's just not as open, like it's not really happening sort of deal. So it's like, oh, wait a minute. I missed this thing because like it just wasn't, or it's just been hidden so well enough that it wasn't in the public view. But it could go, any direction. It's hidden enough, or there's enough money into it, or it's just already not done to some extent that it's like, oh, we missed this thing. So within those, but it is that like court of public opinion where certain things happen. And sometimes people can be a little overzealous and go a little bit too far in the extremes. Looking at you, Pina. Yeah.
And Big Lick.
Yeah. That's
awful.
Bad. It still, unfortunately, still happens, even though it is technically illegal.
Right? It's the good old boys club.
There's a number of different things that you can come up with. And there's maybe something that we're doing now that, 20, 30 years down the line is going to be looked at differently.
We have to continually evolve, right?
Yeah. Change is life.
Yes. And
life is change.
If we learn something and we learn that what we were doing was wrong, we need to change. I was just telling one of my clients yesterday, I am not the same trainer now that I was 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. I'm not. And I'm proud of that. And I don't think you're better. Yes. Yeah.
I'd be proud if you're a bad, worse for training.
Yeah. And I never would.
You should have a little bit of, that growth and that understanding.
Which is, one of the reasons why we started this channel was because both of us love to research and both of us love to constantly evolve and change as trainers and as people. So why not share that with you all?
Yeah.
But that's what we need to do in general. As a group of horse-loving people, we need to evolve and we need to change and we need to do it now. Or we're not going to be able to do this at all.
At least willing to look at the changes that are being requested, the changes that might need to happen. We have to have an open mind. Not every change is going to be good. We have to be aware of that as well as the changes that are going to be good.
And we do need to celebrate the positive changes too. That's important as well. People have a tendency to get, everybody's doing everything bad all the time. Well, that's not the truth either. The FEI has done some things that are good. The American government has made some positive law changes. I think that the Scottish SPCA was making some positive changes with their animal abuser list. But there are people that are trying to do better things. And we do need to focus on that too. So thank you so much for joining us. Let us know your comments.